are listening to On the Shoulders of Dwarves, a weekly podcast about role-playing games and role-playing gamers.
On the Shoulders of Dwarves.
Hello and welcome to On the Shoulders of Dwarves, a weekly podcast about role-playing games and the gamers who game them. You've just heard our new intro, and my name is Eran Aviram.
And my name is Uri Lifshitz. Hello, thanks for joining us.
Uri, tell us about the new intro.
Well, this is an awesome intro. It's part of a whole song we commissioned from a band that we really like. Their name is The Cliché Duo. And what they do, they take popular songs in English and translate them to Hebrew and vice versa. So you can enjoy them in Hebrew or in English with songs from the other language. And they do amazing stuff. And we just came up to them and said, listen, we have a podcast and we think you're awesome. And we would love it if you guys would record an opening thing for us. And they said, no, we're going to record a whole song for you. And we were like, oh, that's awesome. And then they said, and you're going to pay us. And we said, that is so fair. Awesome. Let's do that.
We'll put the whole song at the end of this episode, so you have something to look forward to. But for now, let us begin with a moment of transition into our episode, which is about moments of transition. We are going to discuss these special moments in a character's life that change them or influence them in a way so they can no longer view the world in the same way as they did before. This is your topic, Uri. This is your thing. What is going on?
I believe that in every character's life, there are moments of transition, events that separate that character's life to before and after that specific event. Now, such events can happen naturally, by happenstance, simply being in the wrong place in the wrong time on a midnight walk with your parents. That's basically what triggered Bruce Wayne to becoming Batman. Or it could be that final moment of that long and dark road that you have traversed in order to finally succeed. Like finally being accepted to the evil league of evil after many, many trials and hardship.
For example,
yeah. Now, we all have many such moments in our own lives. And they usually culminate in some sort of an event, a ceremony, a ritual, or simply a party. In Judaism, when a boy turns 13, there is a ceremony. It's called the bar mitzvah. That is sort of a rite of passage. Before that, you were a boy. Now you are a man. And we have so many of these. A wedding is a ritual that signals two people joining their lives. What was before the wedding and what's after the wedding are inherently different from these people's perspective. And knighting, receiving a knighthood, is an event where a person takes new and heavy responsibilities upon themselves.
But wait, these are all rituals? These are all part of civil society. There are also moments of transition, like losing your left hand. It's a thing that happened to you, and from now on you will be changed. You will have to, in some way, change.
That is an excellent point, Eran. And what I want to focus is on those events which happen at the end of a long road. Those events which you work toward. Those events which didn't happen to you by accident, but were in some way either planned or a well-known risk that came into being.
That's funny, because I want to focus on the other kind.
Excellent. So we'll have a whole full episode to do that. Now, I want to ask our listeners to focus on their game, on their current campaign, on their previous campaign, and think for a moment, when was the last time in your game that you took the time to celebrate such a ceremony for one of your player's character? This could be each and every one of those. A character that had a wedding with their beloved. A character that finally got that knighthood they so desperately wanted, that suck-up paladin who keeps blah, 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 and finally got it. Was it just mentioned? Was it something that you did a quick cutscene over? Was it something that the GM simply describe as, 2 weeks have passed, Johnny got his degree, Gerald got his knighthood, the usuals, and then move on. I think that just quickly glazing over these events is a waste. And I would like to explore this whole topic from both the GM perspective and the player's perspective. Let's start with the players. Now, for the player, an event, a monumentous event such as this, is a great opportunity for character development. You can set your character's sights on a specific goal way, way before it's even relevant to your campaign. My current character, Krieger van Messer, he dreams of becoming a Hell Knight, the sacred order of knights who protect, the peace enforced by the gods of hell. But regardless, he dreams of joining that order. Now, that's because he's an idiot, but that's beside the point. The point is that one day he'll either make it and will go through that knighthood ceremony in which he will be joined into that order, or he will realize that he doesn't want to do that. And that will be another defining moment. However, that other defining moment can only happen because he has his sights on a specific event, a specific ceremony that he wants for himself. In either one of those moments, that character will be forever changed. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, yeah, of course, setting up a goal for my character is like the ABC of creating character arc. Blah, you've talked about this in episode 21, personal plot lines, move on. But I want to add here is that you as a player, should strive not just to have a character arc, but to have a defining moment of transition for every character arc you plan. And if that moment is accompanied by some sort of a meaningful event, a ceremony, a ritual of some kind, a gathering of the people, of your family, of your friends, of your gods, of whatever, all the better. Because such events forces us to be imaginative, to decide how a wedding of my character's fate would look, how a rite of passage would work in a society that is essentially worshipping demons, how a funeral will be held when we know that a departed who was strong in his fate is literally going down to hell to work beside devils and demons. These are amazing concepts which we can develop because we're thinking of such moments of transitions. Now, speaking of funerals, a few months back, one of the PCs in my party was killed in a boss fight.
Best way to die.
Best way to die. Epically, in the middle of a boss fight, being shredded to pieces by the big baddie as he was killing it. Amazing scene. That's one of the reasons why that player decided that I don't want you guys to revive my character. That was, that was a moment of transition.
Okay.
And he died, and you can say so, yeah. And I don't want to go back from that. That character has filled its role in this campaign and in my gaming life. And what happened after that was amazing because the GM took the time and we had a whole scene for the funeral. And the GM used that opportunity to show us, the rest of the players, the impact our party had on the city. He described every person we've helped during the campaign. That is roughly in the last, I think, 2 years. Every person we've helped came to the funeral and said something and did something. Placed a stone on the grave, held a rose, paid their respects. And that was a very, very powerful scene.
And you only had it because you decided to give attention to that moment.
Yeah, to take away the spotlight from the plot, the running forward, the what's next. And pausing a moment to say, okay, a moment has happened here. A moment of transition. And it's not just a moment of transition for that specific character.
Oh no, it's for everyone else.
Indeed. And I think if we hadn't taken the time to shine that spotlight on that specific event, it wouldn't have affected the party as well. I think it would have been, okay, so we've lost Frank. Damn it, we need a new magic user. Dude, roll a new magic user. Yeah, indeed. And because we took the time and had that event, and the GM took that opportunity to really makes us feel what the death of someone in the party means, that created the whole shift in the campaign. We literally changed the name of the party. The character name was Frank, and we changed the name of the party to Frank's Fearsome Fellows. And instead of an event that ended one character and the party move on, it became something of the mythos, of the ethos. No, it became a meaningful part of our story, the story of us, and those of us who survived.
And now we can think back. I mean, not me, but you guys can think back to that moment and remember it as part of the campaign.
As a meaningful part of the campaign, yes. And I want to use this event to segue to the GM perspective. Now, as a GM, I use events a lot. They allow me to do so much. First of all, they ground the PCs in the world we play in. Because if there's an event, there's a place where the event is held. There's a location, there's a reason, there's a person, there's a lot of things that happen around an event. It allows me to build something with the player regarding their characters and the people that surround them. If there's a funeral, there's a minister. If there's a knighting, there's someone who does the knighting. There's a monarch of some sort. It allows me to introduce NPCs of importance and the organizations they represent. This can lead to a lot of cooperation with the players, creating backstories and societies and rituals of their own, and that would be awesome. And you can also expand on that and creating your own whole religion and ideas and development of different types of societies, which is also an amazing thought experiment. I will say this though, a ceremony can be for a group, like the king giving thanks to the hero who saved the town, but it can also be for specific characters. And if you have a ceremony for a specific PC, take the time as a GM to find a role for the other players.
Yes.
They can give speeches if it's in a wedding. They can have specific functions to perform. They should testify, take an oath, or even take part in the ceremony itself. But stay clear of situation in which you're describing something that only happened to a single PC while there's a whole bunch of people at the table doing nothing, because that is boring. Now, I will conclude with saying that every person have a ceremony that they want to take part in. Some want to marry, some want to get those luscious 15 minutes of fame on TV, or to be invited to the executive lounge in their firm. And these are all moments of transition. Aspire to have those moments in your games, both as wishful thinking of your character, as lost hopes that maybe someday will come to be. And when they do come, revel in them, enjoy every minute. For moment of transition are always the mark of an end of an era, and you really don't know where you're gonna be next.
I think you had a lot of good points there, and I want to move to what I said I would be talking about, unexpected moments of transition. And I would also like to look at mechanical implementations of moments of transition, all of them from Powered by the Apocalypse engine games, because these are games that focus on the structure of the narrative, on your character going through a story. So all of the following games have moves, that is, parts of the mechanics that occur whenever a big thing needs to happen to you.
Cool. So hopefully I've managed to convince you to have moments of transition in your game, and now Eran's going to tell you exactly how to play them.
Sort of. Because, for example, in D&D or in Dungeon Crawl Classics or in games that are more about the physical world, I'm doing air quotes, of the game, these moments happen when they happen. But in, for example, City of Mist, you know that a moment is coming because there's a mechanical aspect to it. In City of Mist, every character is made out of 4 themes, aspects of their life. Some are mythical and some are mundane. Each of these can crack or fade. The mythical can fade away and the mundane can crack and you can see through it into the mythical. And that means that you can lose themes. And when I say you can, I actually mean you are definitely going to lose themes. It's a big part of the game. When, for example, you no longer believe in whatever it was that you believed in, then your mundane theme will disappear. You will lose this part of your life. You lose the power tags, the mechanical power that you had on that theme, and you will switch to a new one, a different one, a mythical one, by the way. That's a powerful moment. And it's a part of the book of City of Mist that's called dramatic moments. Basically what we're talking about here. But there's another interesting thing that can happen in City of Mist, because while themes fade and crack, it takes some time for them to disappear. There's also the one big moment. City of Mist is not exactly but sort of a superhero game. And in every good comic, you have the moment where the hero stops holding back. And that's the name of the move. Stop holding back. And
that's an excellent name.
It's a fantastic name. And when you activate it, you choose how powerful it's going to be, how far you're willing to go. You and the GM decide together if it's a significant price, if there's no return, or if it's the ultimate price. And then you roll for it. And you might explode, you might die in some way, but you're definitely going to be transformed in a meaningful way that will influence your character. You can lose a theme. It's one of the smallest things that might happen to you when you stop holding deck. You might just lose a theme, but a lot of other things can happen. And I think I really like it because it isn't dependent on anything besides the player deciding that this is the correct time in the story for him to do a big thing. And that happens also in masks. Now, Aviv Manoach, our technical dwarf, is our resident masks expert. Mm-hmm. I haven't played it. I've only seen it played. So what I'm saying now is from his lips. He suggests this. He says that in masks, there's a move called Moment of Truth. When a player activates it, they get full narrative control for the scene within some limitations. And the interesting thing is, they're not going to die. In Mask, you play superheroes that are teens, and we are here to talk about their drama in their lives, not about how they're going to die. It's not about risk. It's about conflict and drama. So the interesting thing is, after you get this moment of truth, you will have an ongoing negative effect for the character going forward. Something that will influence her, I don't want to say again in a bad way, but will make life complicated for her. That's super cool. Finally, in Dungeon World, there's of course the move that happens when you die, because when you die in Dungeon World, you don't necessarily die, you roll for it, and you might not die. Instead, you do a bargain with death, or something like that, and that might be a powerful moment that you didn't expect. But there's another sort of moment that you do expect, but I wouldn't call it a ceremony, and I'm not sure that it's something that you aspire to. It's reaching level 10. It's going to happen. If you play enough, it's just going to happen. But the thing that happens when you reach level 10 is not necessarily a good thing. It's a thing. You might retire your character. You might take on an apprentice, and you might change to a new class. Now, the book doesn't say what each of these actually mean. It's mostly up to you to decide what these mean. And I really like it because in a way, it's like what you said before. It says, people, you put your meaning into this. we are only telling you that it is meaningful. We only show you the mechanical aspect with which it becomes meaningful. But it's up to you to decide what story-wise this actually means. And I like all of this. It's really fun. Finally, I want to talk about a specific moment that happened in my character. I think the only powerful moment that ever happened to a character that I played, and it was something that I planned beforehand. I had a character called Zamlofia. She was a paladin. I talked about her before. It was in the adventure path for Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. And it's all about redemption and fighting demons, etc. And I knew from the beginning that I wanted Zamlofia, who was a tiefling paladin of Iomeda, to slowly become corrupted by pride and stuff like that, and then betray the characters, and then return later on and go through redemption. But I didn't know exactly when this is going to happen. I had a moment, but it wasn't concrete. It was a conceptual moment. It was something that needed to happen. We played, and eventually I said to myself, after enough encounters, enough interesting moments where Zamlofia became more and more prideful and more sure in her own way and stopped listening to others, etc., that it's about time for this to happen. And I talked with the GM, and I should note both the GM and the other players knew all about it, knew that this is going to happen. There were no secrets about what is happening in game. And the GM said, well, we are in Adventure 3. By the end of Adventure 3, some things are happening that might be useful for you. And you decide what to do and when.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I really like this because it's not like we decided on a moment. It's not like we sat down and he told me, yes, this NPC comes along and suggests a thing, and then you can accept their suggestion, and thus you are corrupted by, I don't know, you sign a deal with a demon or something. I don't remember exactly what happened, but that's basically what eventually happened. But he didn't tell me any of this. He just said, wait for it. By the end of third adventure, there will come a time where you will feel like this is the time, and just do it. And I said, yeah, cool. And everyone knew that this is happening. So the last few sessions of Adventure 3 were pretty awesome for everyone as we were waiting for the moment to happen. And eventually the GM and I decided, yes, this is now, this is right here. And I stabbed one of the characters, the character that loved Zamlofia in all their heart and thought she is basically the Messiah, stabbed him in the heart and gave her monologue and disappeared. It was a brilliant moment. And in a way, in game, it wasn't planned, of course. It wasn't a ceremony. It was something that no one saw coming in a way. I mean, they all knew that Zamlofia is becoming angrier, but they didn't imagine this was going to happen. And she didn't imagine this was going to happen. But off play, I can't imagine a more structured way of doing this. I mean, maybe you can literally write a script, but this is a role-playing game. And even though we played a pre-planned adventure path where basically everything, you get from the book and you have to go through a specific path, and that's fine. I love it. Even though we played that, I think it was better not to choose a specific point where we say exactly now, this and this happen exactly like this. This is not, I think, how we should do it in role-playing games.
Still, it's a very interesting idea to plan ahead for a specific moment or in specific end of campaigns or adventures, to have those pre-planned, I wouldn't say pre-planned moments as in you plan what's happening in them, but pre-planned as in, okay, we plan for having a downtime of so-and-so at the end of every adventure so people could have those switches and changes and to take the moments of transitions that occurred and have the time to let them influence their character or advance in other directions.
Excellent. Do you have anything to add?
No, I think we covered this nicely from many angles, both from the ideas of things that happening during the game and things that you really build up to, and from the player as well as the GM perspective. And if you had meaningful moment of transition, we would love to hear about them and how you implemented them and whether they were planned in advance or just something that happened during the game. You can find us on the Twitters, on the Facebookses, and on the emailses.
Yes.
We're there.
Send an email to show@dwarfcast.net, and we are at Dwarf Podcast everywhere else. And our website is dwarfcast.net. And we will, of course, really like it if you'll share this episode or any other episode with your friends, your enemies, your family members. Finally, Uri and I were super busy this week, and we have no load to take off. Instead, I'll just say that the Kickstarter for my Crystal Heart is coming next week on Tuesday. This is brilliant, and I'm working on it every day now, and I think it's going to be awesome. And now, I think, without further ado, our song.
להתראות.
Short we may be, but we wield a big axe. Gemstones and ore fill the sacks on our backs. Elves sure look pretty while riding a horse, but this world is carried on the shoulders of dwarves. Smithing an armor and forging a blade. Down in the deep you'll find tunnels we made. Giants feel oh high and mighty, of course, but this world is carried on the shoulders of dwarves. Ale we be guzzling a barrel per hour. Some tables be lush with the food we'll devour. Orcs they may bludgeon your noggin with force, but this world is carried on the shoulders of dwarves. Master the game by a roll of the dice. I'll give you advantage and then you roll twice. Watch out for goblins, for they don't play nice. Show me your crunch and I'll show you my fluff. Once you join the game, you just can't get enough. It's world's greatest hobby and we are your source. Let us discuss it on the shoulders of dwarves.